So, you want to try your hand at being a paid GM, a professional GM, someone who makes their living by running games for other players? This is what you should probably know first before you even try. Hey folks, I'm going to be running 2 games at D&D in a Castle in October, and I would love you to join me at my table. We're going to be using the new setting that just came out, Spelljammer, and exploring the cosmos together and encountering all the wonderful things that we can encounter out upon the astral sea, or perhaps on a planet of your choosing. You are the captains of your own spacefaring vessel, and it's in D&D. And it's in a castle! I mean, what else could you want? Join me, find the link below on how to sign up for this amazing, once-in-a-lifetime holiday, which I guarantee you will not regret coming to. Hello, my fellow GMs, DMs, storytellers, narrators, creators, and other amazing monster makers. I am Guy, and this is How to Be a Great GM. Today we're talking about how do you change your boring day job into being a GM. I've spent a lot of time chatting to folks and trying to get their opinions and see what they do as professional GMs. So here are a few things that I have discovered. Firstly, the average rate, give or take, is somewhere between $5 and $20 per player per session or per month. That's not going to get you a livable wage, but it is certainly a nice income. Except that what will be expected of you is a lot more money expenditure than you might be making. You need to have maps. If you're doing an online game, you need to have your VTT system set up. You need to have maps, dynamic lighting, sound effects if you are going to use sound effects, tokens if you're going to play face-to-face, which is where a lot of GMs end up going because that's the experience that we're looking for. You need to have music. You need to have minis. You need to have maps. You need to have all of those wonderful things, and depending on how far you go, you need to either be able to print the minis of your player characters, because that's a nice little touch. And let me tell you, this is something that you will start to see more and more of as we get more professional GMs. The standard is just going to go up and up and up and up. Now, obviously, you don't have to go that far. If you're only charging $5 a game, or maybe $5 per player, then sure, you don't necessarily need to have all of that stuff. The biggest thing that I think we have to really understand when you're talking about a professional GM is that you are moving out of the space of being a GM and you are moving into the space of being an entertainer. People are hiring you because you are going to give them an entertaining game. The mindset is very different. If you are just playing with a bunch of friends, you're all friends and you're kind of working collaboratively together and you're having fun and you're kind of doing what this channel advocates that you do. Everybody is responsible. But if you are being paid to provide the service of GMing, you are then providing that service. That is not a collective. You are now solely responsible for making sure that the game is doing what it does. So you have your session 0 where you start to establish your ground rules. What is the rule on absenteeism? Because there are going to be times when there are absentees. Do you still bill them? Do they still pay? Do they lose their slot at the table? How many times do they have to be absent before you kick them out? Because again, remember, if you're starting to run a game for 5 people and you're charging $5 a head, you're $25 per game. If someone leaves and you don't add somebody else in, suddenly you're running the same game, but now it's for $20. And then someone else leaves, you're running the same game for $15. You are losing income. The players are not losing anything from their side. You're now effectively doing the same amount of work that you would be, but for less income. And another major ground rule is if you are saying that we're going to play for 3 hours, is that time including the social time where you're chatting and catching up with each other? Or is that from the start of, all right, everybody, you're in a forest, you're in a tavern, roll initiative. Is that where you start? And does your 3 hours end on a hard end where it's like, okay, folks, our time is up. See you again next week. Goodbye. Or is there time for chatting and socializing and that kind of thing? How much engagement will you have with your players out of game? Are you going to be chatting about their character goals and motivations and their journeys and their decision-making processes? This all takes up your time. So if you want to run 5 groups, you've got 25 players or more who are suddenly writing to you saying, I want my character to do this. My character is going to level up. Can I have these feats? Can I do this? So suddenly there's a large amount of administration that starts to come into just running the same game. Here is one of those other things about you providing a service to everybody who's playing in your game. You need to know the rules in an encyclopedic way. You need to know all of those things. You also, if you're running a module, you need to know the module backwards. If people want to play Tomb of Annihilation and you're not running it according to the book, you will be in trouble because they have hired you to run Tomb of Annihilation. Alternatively, they might have hired you to not run modules. Maybe their home GM runs the modules. They want you to give them an experience. So it's about establishing what is everybody after and then making sure that you are giving it to them. We don't have a professional GM rating system yet. Watch this space. But we don't have a method of gauging what is a great GM, what is a GM who's worth $50 an hour versus what's a GM who's worth $10 an hour. So your rate is going to be set on what you feel is appropriate for your level of skill, your level of performance, your level of engagement, all of the minis, the modules, the maps, all of that kind of stuff that you bring to the table. You're going to have to figure that out. And let me tell you, it's not necessarily as high as you might think it is. If you go and run a game at like D&D in a Castle, which is ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest paid GM experience that I know of, you'd be amazed at what the actual rate is for the GMs. It's not bad, and if you do it for the month, you can definitely live off of it, but it's not as high as you think. So don't get into this if you're trying to make money. Don't get into this if this is your, oh, I want to be someone who just runs games all day because it's going to be so much fun. After a while, you will be working. Those are my thoughts on running games. I think that it is something that we are definitely going to see more of. It's not going to go away, and we just have to make sure that, well, if we are going into it, we're going into it with our eyes open rather than closed. Until next time, a massive thank you to you for watching all the way to the end, and a huge thank you and love to all of the patrons who keep this channel going. Until next time, I wish you and yours the happiest of gaming.